Welcome back to What It's Really Like to Be an Entrepreneur. I'm Vincent A. Lanci.
And I'm Supna Doshi.
I'm excited to launch another episode for you all and bring on another guest with tons of firsthand experience. That's the sound of you investing in your future. Let's go. Whether you're already an entrepreneur, are looking to start your journey tomorrow, or are just someone who needs a little extra motivation to get through the day, this is the perfect podcast for you. Each week, I interview a different entrepreneur from across the globe. I will continue to offer episodes in all industries to provide you with many different perspectives. You never know which motivational journey will inspire you most. Each guest will take you through their story and help you learn from their successes and lessons learned. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate the show 5 stars and continue listening by subscribing. It's time for another episode where we rewind the clock. My guest on the show today is a returning guest from episode 25. Her episode aired during the Gasparilla Overload all the way back on season 1. Supna joined the show, adding value from 2 entrepreneurial endeavors, We Go Kids and Alinea Production. She will get us caught up with both of her businesses and also her new success as well. One area that I am excited for you all to learn about is her amazing collaboration with the veterans here in Florida. So allow me to now introduce Supna Doshi. Supna, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Vincent, thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Supna, would you mind please reintroducing yourself to our listeners and previewing your story without giving away too much of your entrepreneurial journey?
Yep. So my name is Supna Doshi. I am founder of We Go Kids, which was started to inspire parents to raise their children and nurture their children with the emotional intelligence our children are born with. I am also co-founder of Alinea, which is a video production company. And our purpose with Alinea is to reverse trends of anxiety, depression, and suicide in every community across the country and around the world. I am also a mom of 7-year-old triplets, and they were the catalyst to me starting my entrepreneurial journey about 5 years ago.
Yeah, which company did you start first? We Go Kids, correct?
Yeah, that was the first one.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it all keeps evolving, and I think it's a great time to get started. On each episode with a new guest, my guest and I go through the Big 5, which is the same series of 5 questions to help you, the listeners, learn what it's really like to be an entrepreneur. For Rewind the Clock episodes, we will have a Big 5 of its own. It's been a while since we last met, and I'm very happy to see your continued success. Let's revisit the business you introduced to us on your first episode.
So We Go Kids, I started back when the triplets were 2 years old. And it was after I had learned that suicide rates for children ages 10 to 14 had tripled and possibly now quadrupled during the last decade. And that number was so alarming to me as a person, but particularly as a new mom. I wanted to really understand how that was happening and why that was happening and what I could do at the really early ages to prevent that from being an outcome for my children. And so that was how We Go Kids was born. We have a clothing line online, which is dedicated to mindfulness and yoga. It teaches children from a really early age about their emotions. And then we also started like TV shows. So video podcasts, you could call them as well. We had 2. One is Parent Talk, where we have a round table of 5 parents who share their different thoughts and opinions on different parenting topics. And then Raising EI, which was raising children with emotional intelligence, and the interview show that takes an emotional intelligence approach to things that happen in our everyday lives, like how do you create a positive financial relationship with money for your children.
Yeah, and we could find all of these on your website?
Yes, wego-kids.com.
Yeah, and we'll touch on all of her social media and website again later, but I thought it'd be a good time to ask But now let's touch on the new entrepreneurial endeavors that you've started since your episode aired back on season 1.
Yeah, so since after I had started We Go Kids, about 3 years later, I met Adam, who is a Marine Corps veteran, and his company, Vetting America, he was talking about really an emotional intelligence approach to transition out of the military. And as we became friends, I learned more about the suicide epidemic that plagues our veteran population, which is that the VA now reports 20 a day commit suicide. The military veteran suicide number is dramatically on the rise. It was anyways. COVID has only exacerbated the situation. And so as a result of that, Alinea was born. And I talk about Alinea as a person, as her own energy, because she is definitely on her own path. So Alinea Production was born with the purpose to create content that connects in order to specifically reverse the anxiety, depression, and suicide. Most of the work that we do is in the veteran and military communities currently.
Yeah, and I like how you're giving back to the veterans because they're the backbone of this country. But I'd like to take this time to really touch on your big project that you released with the veterans. Let's get into more detail with that.
Yeah, so it was completely by the power of the universe that I connected with B. Taylor, who is a Grammy artist and a Sony artist out of Vegas. He heard about some of the work that I was doing, and we connected on a completely separate topic. But when I told him a little bit about the work that we were doing, he had written a song called We Are One, Love Is All We Need. And this is all in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. And he said, I want to do a music video and I want you to produce it. And after I got over my initial shock, 2 days later, his request came and he said, can you do a storyboard? I need to send it to the Joint Chiefs of Staff at the Pentagon for approval. And I was like, okay.
So
and
cool.
Literally my life for the next 4 weeks was a series of saying yes and then figuring out how to do it later. But during that time, Pensacola base, which was closed, which had been closed since February, opened their doors for us because of our COVID-19 precautions in order to allow us to film on base. We covered more than 30 sets in the span of about 10 days. We had more than 50 on-camera stars and extras who all volunteered their time. It was the first time where we were able to capture every single branch of the military, Army, Navy, Marine, Coast Guard, and Air Force, as well as highlighting veterans, specifically in the Tampa community, all in this one video. We also highlighted every first responder community with the fireman, police officer, firefighter, police officer, doctor, and nurse in this one music video. And it really was the message and his vision to bring the country together under this one song and the reminder that we are one, love is all we need. And so it was an amazing experience, a whirlwind of a time. And the video is out, so I would be grateful for everybody to view it and share it.
Yeah, so make sure you stick around to the end of the episode so you can get the information on where to watch that video. But I think it's a great time for this next question, and I think it will help the listeners immensely as we are all in this together. Let's talk about how COVID-19 has affected all of your entrepreneurial endeavors. And let's start with the endeavor that you first introduced to us back on season 1.
Sure. I mean, COVID-19 definitely in the beginning, I found myself in a fear pit because of all of the information that was out there that I really didn't have, or I didn't use the tools that I had to process it. So I definitely found myself in kind of a spiral for about 2 weeks, was able to realize that was what was happening and to kind of shift my perspective, use my tools. for the anxiety and the depression that came along with those experiences, and then really to find kind of more of a balanced place, not only for myself, but for my children as well, because that was a huge impact on them. The way I was reacting was a huge impact on them, and I saw that happening. So, and then, work-wise, it definitely got super quiet. And what I did was, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, I came across on my Facebook feed this country music song that was written by an Army veteran. And I loved it so much. I closed my eyes and I had a vision for the video. I reached out to him and I said, I'd like to volunteer our services in order to produce this music video if you feel that this is a good fit. And we did that. We went to Savannah, filmed outdoors in just the most amazing places, again, in the middle of all of this going on. And that really was the reminder that I needed for myself that I do have control, that there are things that I can do, that I make choices every day. And so that really was kind of the catalyst and the energy that I needed to be able to move forward. And as a result of that music video that we did, this music video came up with B. Taylor.
Yeah, I think that's great advice right there. Just reminding yourself you can control what you can and what you can't, move forward. But speaking of advice, the listeners would also like to learn, what is the best piece of advice that you were ever given, and who is it from?
Well, I've been given a lot of good pieces of advice during the course of my life, so I picked the most recent one. When I was doing this video and I will say, it was the first time, like, I had agreements with every branch of the military. I was managing, production for a pretty big project, and it was a lot of firsts for me. And what I found was some imposter syndrome coming up. And so my partner, Adam, who is the Marine Corps veteran, he said to me, you're really focused on the outcome, on what this video is going to look like. And if you shift back to kind of the purpose of Alinea and be present and focus on every set and the people that are there on that set, and create a space for healing and for positivity and for connection that they're not getting during this time, don't worry about the outcome. The outcome's going to take care of itself. And that paradigm shift for me was so powerful, because every set then, when we went on to set, it was transformative. You would see all of these veterans or military who had been suffering from anxiety and depression, who had been disconnected, who were struggling with home life and work life and figuring all of this stuff out. And when they came on, that all disappeared for a while, whether it was 2 hours or 3 hours, and we all got together for this one purpose. We had a lot of fun. It was a lot of healing, and it was a lot of connection. And that really was the reminder. That was the best piece of advice I could have gotten. And now that's how I approach every production, is not worrying about the outcome, but worrying about each moment as I go.
Yeah, I can resonate there a little bit. In the beginning of my graduate school journey, I was really just solely focused on getting the degree. I wasn't worried about the in-between, and I wasn't really taking time to enjoy the many accomplishments and enjoying the process, the struggling, enjoying the learning lessons. Like you said, a lot of firsts for you. So I do resonate with that. But if you could recommend one book to our community of entrepreneurs, Supna, which book would it be? Who is the author? And briefly describe that book.
Yeah, so if you know me, you've heard this before, but I recommend The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. Michael Singer's story is just incredible. He actually lives locally outside of Gainesville, Florida. He has been on Oprah and has many best-selling books, but The Surrender Experiment is about his entrepreneurial journey, where he started kind of in the woods of Alachua County. He started first as constructing people's homes, and ended up as CEO of WebMD.
Wow.
Yep, it's really an incredible story, and really opened my eyes to the power of surrendering to what the universe offers us. I think as entrepreneurs and business owners, we do get stuck with our blinders and stuck in, it's supposed to look and feel this way. And when we can step out of that and just be open to what the universe brings to us, I think that type of surrender is really powerful.
And that's definitely the truth. We are so busy all the time, so it seems like a good way to step back and make some necessary changes to improve our day. And Supna, normally it would be time for the Spotlight story, but instead, on Rewind the Clock episodes, I want to give my guests the opportunity to shout out and bring light to another entrepreneur's endeavors. Someone else who is making some noise, who would you like to show some love to?
I'd love to show some love to Adrian O'Farrell. He is owner of Epic Life Productions, also a local video production company. Adrian has been our lead videographer and editor on the project since we started, and his creativity and his vision and his ability to see something and make it come to life, without him, I would not be able to do what I do.
Awesome, Supna. Would you please take the time to share your professional social media, website, or ways for our listeners to follow your endeavors and request your services?
Yeah, so I'll start with We Go Kids. So if you check out shop.wego-kids.com, that's where you can learn all about We Go Kids and parenting. And then at Alinea Production on Facebook and Instagram, alineaproduction.com to view all of our work. We're also a full-service digital marketing agency, so we do social media management, websites, and a ton of other stuff. So at Alinea Production, and then I personally am at Supna Doshi on all the socials.
Be sure to check out all of that great content, and it is social media time for the show, and we're on whichever platform you like to use. We're at What It's Really Like to Be an Entrepreneur on LinkedIn, at Your Favorite Morning Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and at Podcasts by Lanci on Twitter, so you have updates from this show and a mental health break with Vincent A. Lanci. If you check out my books, DM me. I would love to hear from you all. We have Mr. Lanci Talks Mental Health, Left for Dead, A Story of Redemption, and How to Transform Your Mindset When the Norm is Changed. All are on my website now, which is vincentalanci.com. As always, I will end the show with a quote that inspired me and know it will for you too. This one is from Beverly Sills. She said, "You may be disappointed if you fail, but you are doomed if you don't try." Thanks for listening, and I'll see you all on the next episode of What It's Really Like to Be an Entrepreneur.